I would like to start by saying, rise up to the challenge and become the captain of your own thoughts, beliefs, decisions, and actions. Have faith and walk with courage and keep your positive mental imagination alive. Whenever you fall, waste no time in getting back up. It is only a matter of time until something miraculous happens in life. Wishing you all a very good evening and thank you for joining with us on a lovely Friday for the CA live program followed by a question and answer session. So to start off with, let me give you a brief idea about this program. Today's program has been organized by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka together with the CA Student Society, and we will be conducting live chats once in every month regarding different aspects relating to us students, whether it be academic, non-academic, or professional. I am Sarah Shifa, a member representing the CA Student Society, and will be your moderator for today's session on behalf of the entire student population. Once again, I welcome you all to the 9th live chat session with CA Sri Lanka. I request you all to stay attentive throughout today's program. Feel free to jot down any questions you have throughout the program. Please do drop in all your doubts and clarifications to be made via the chat box option. Our guest speaker for the day will definitely get them clarified for you before we wind up. I'm happy to announce that we have with us today an author of a best-selling book in artificial intelligence and robotics, an innovator and a curious personality with experience in multiple disciplines, including technology, digital transformation, finance, and commercial in large and complex organizations. A member of CA Sri Lanka, the Group General Manager of Telstra Corporation Limited, Australia. I would now like to welcome Mr. Prabhash Galagedara as our resource person for the day. We are indeed happy to have you join with us and appreciate your time and effort amidst your busy schedules. So without having to wait further, let us now hop into what we are gathered for this evening. I would now like to invite Mr. Prabhash Galagedara. Platform is now over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's great to be here with you today. When I usually speak, I talk about artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, identity theft, accounting, finance, and so many other topics. Today, I'm going to talk about my life, and share some of my life stories with you today. Before I do that, I want to basically share one big question I've been grappling in my life. There is one question I've been trying to find an answer for, simply one question. And before I, share what that question is, let me give a little bit of context on why this is the biggest question in my life. I believe I'm an average person, average in IQ, average in physical abilities, average in every measure of life. And I've been, I have experienced that, from my childhood. And I've been told many times by many people that I'm an average person. So my biggest question has been, what is the potential of an average person? What is the potential of me as an average person? And what is the potential of someone like me as an average person? Before I share some of those journeys with you today, let me give you a little bit of highlights of my career so far. When I was in grade 4, my English teacher asked me to write an essay, write an essay about myself or ourselves. That was kind of the first essay we would write back in Sri Lanka back in the day for English. So when teacher asked this, from the students in the class, most of the students sitting in the front row started talking to the teacher rather than writing that, saying, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a lawyer. I was sitting in the middle of the class thinking, I don't want to be any of that. I don't want to call out any of these kids call out. I don't want to be any of, who they are. And thinking to myself what I want to call out. And I vividly remembered my father introducing his good friend, Uncle George, a few weeks earlier, saying that he was a chartered accountant. I thought, that's it. I want to say that, today. And when my turn came, I raised my hand and said to the teacher, I want to be an accountant. 20 years later, I became a chartered accountant. Today, I have about 4 qualifications from various places as outlined in this page. I'm a member of CA Sri Lanka. I'm a graduate of Japura Accounting. I'm a member of CIMA and also a member of CPS Australia as well. When I was in grade 8, my father enrolled me on a program at Arthur C. Clarke Center. Arthur C. Clarke is the late futurist who revolutionized many things, including fictionalizing space travel. So my father would come to the school, pick me up, drop me at Arthur C. Clarke Center during school time. It was held over, few weeks, and held for students at that time. When I was in the program on the very first day, the professor who conducted the program was introduced as an alumnus of Harvard's University. I didn't realize what it was. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't understand what it was. But I felt like, it was something very important, very prestigious, and somewhere I should probably go one day. 30 years later, I went to Harvard Business School, and I studied from a wonderful professor called Clayton Christensen, who is known as the father of innovation. I studied, disruptive innovation and modern company evaluation at Harvard Business School. Clay revolutionized many things, including his disruptive theories, and most of the large companies today, like Apple, Google, Amazon, Netflix, have all been built based on Clay's theories. He died in 2020, and Forbes magazine named him as the most influential management thinker of our time. When I was young, my father used to write. He was an author. He was an accomplished author. He used to write many things, fictions, short stories, novels, poems, you name it, he wrote it. So we had, a pile of books at our home. And he had a bookshelf, with his books and so many other books on the bookshelf. When I was in grade 9, singular teacher asked us to do an assignment, write a, short story. By then, I was a bit of a rascal, and so I decided not to write the story. And on the day it was due, I stole one of my father's manuscripts and took it to the school. So teacher came to the class during the single period, started walking around and checking everyone's work. And when she came up to me, I proudly presented my father's manuscript, thinking I would get good marks. She looked at it, looked at the front cover, turned a few pages, read a bit, and asked me who wrote it. By then I realized something was not right, and something had gone wrong. And when I stole my father's manuscript, I in fact forgot to check the title of the manuscript. It was titled When the Boer or Widow. And my teacher politely asked me what experience I had to write, and I write about a widow at that age. 30 years later, I wrote my first book, The Embrace, in Pursuit of Happiness Through Artificial Intelligence. That has gone on to become a #1 bestseller. Might be the title, might be the topic, might be the cover, might be the stories in it, but most of those stories have been recognized across global media as a result of it. And today, I'm a board member of data and AI body, peak body responsible for data and AI in Australia. So there are a few highlights. Today, I'm going to share a few stories, 3 messages, and few stories through those messages in my life. First one, failure is inevitable in life. You're going to face so many failures in life, but never give up. You're going to face so many obstacles, so many failures, so many, miserable and shameful events, but never give up on your dreams. It all started when I was about 6 years old. I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers, and my parents are basically middle class. My mother was a nurse. My father was a government officer. They both worked for the government. However, they had an insatiable appetite for the education of their children, so they wanted to send me to a good school. But they were not fortunate enough because we didn't live in school zones at that time. But the year I was going to go to school, they got lucky. Government issued a gazette notification allowing government servants to register for their children for government Columbus schools. So my parents decided to register me for public schools, Royal Anand and Nalanda, so on and so forth, rather than private schools because they didn't have money. So I got lucky and got selected to one of the schools, Nalanda College. I was happy and everyone was happy. And we turned up on the very first day and realized there was one big problem. School had registered 30 children, more than what more than they could accommodate in their classes. They didn't have chairs, they didn't have tables, they didn't have a classroom, didn't have a teacher to teach 30 kids. So principal started discussing with parents, the government, and everyone else involved, and decided to send 30 of us to a nearby school. There was one problem. The closest school was a girls' school. So principal reluctantly sent us to a girls' school. I was one of the 30 who went to the girls' school. I would have preferred to go to a girls' school at a much later stage, but it wasn't fun. The girls' school, Gautami Balika, had thousands of girls, and we were tiny 30 kids basically going to that school for our primitive years, for our primary education. School did not have any facilities for boys, no toilets, no sporting facilities, no ground to play, no sports for boys. It was like hell. We basically were caged in a small classroom, initially meant to be for a few weeks, but turned out to be 4 years. So my first 4 years of the education was basically in a room without much fun, without much activities, without any play. So when we were in grade 4, we were sent back to Nalanda. When I came back to Nalanda, we realized we had fallen so far behind. Fallen far behind in education, fallen behind in physical education, fallen behind in sports and other activities. And more than that, most of the children started bullying us, saying, "Hey, is a girl coming. Here's a bunch of girls, coming to our school." It was a massive embarrassment at that stage in my life, and it continued for rest of my life or school life. Even today, some of the friends remind me that I went to a girls' school for my primary education. So when I went to Nalanda, I started basically realizing that there are so many activities you could do, like sports, cricket, football, rugby, badminton, uh, basketball, you name it. School had all those facilities. And I tried all of that, but couldn't basically make any of that. For the interest of time, and I'm going to tell just one story. When I was in grade 5, I wanted to do swimming, wanted to become a swimmer. Started going to enroll on the swimming club of the school and started going for practices. So when I started going for practices, I started learning swimming. So I could basically do different style, freestyle, backstroke, so on and so forth. However, there was one problem. I wasn't physically fit to swim fast. I was very slow in the water. After a year or so, school decided to have a swimming carnival like a sport carnival for the swimming club. I had to participate in games on that day for our age group. So I participated in all the games on that day. I didn't win any race. In fact, I came last in every single race. End of the day, there was a award ceremony. The school basically organized medals for winners, 1, 2, 3. I was standing in there, and everyone was walking up to the podium, receiving medals. And I wasn't the one who wasn't getting any. And it was the last item, and new item was called out. And it was the essay competition of the swimming club. I walked up, and my name was called out as the winner, and I walked up and received my gift. It wasn't a medal. It was just a simple packet of books wrapped up in a brown paper cover. So I walked back, and children started asking, "Did you write an essay?" I still can't writing an essay today. I can't still recall doing that today, and most of the kids knew that there wasn't a competition. Master in charge of the swimming club felt bad that I was the only one who wasn't getting anything, and organized a gift for me last minute. With that massive embarrassment, I stopped doing swimming. So that momentum, that way of my school life continued. When I was in grade 6, school system has two basically exams. End of the year exam, I came last in my class. There were 10 classes, 44, 45 students in each class, and I was the last in my class, 6G. That year, school decided to do something very, very unusual. They assembled all the kids who came last 4 or 5 in each class and put them into a new class in grade 7. All of us were basically huddled into a class and labeled that class as kids who couldn't study well or who are, who were intellectually incapable of learning or mentally retarded. It was a massive shock to all of us. All of a sudden, we were basically in a classroom labeled that we couldn't basically learn anything mentally. So it was a shock not only to me, shock to everyone else who was in that class. The class teacher who was allocated to the class, Mr. Elevela, thought that it was a demotion for him. The very first day he gave us a lecture saying that that was probably the lowest moment in his life and his teaching career. And his, lecture continued every single day. Most of the teachers who allocated to that class didn't come to the class because they thought that it was a shame for themselves as well. So we were there in that class, 7I and 8I, 2 years in a row, without much education, without much activities, without much fun, being labeled as kids who couldn't learn anything. So I realized that I couldn't do any sports earlier on. Here I was, learning that I couldn't learn anything. So that life continued for another couple of years. When we got to grade 9, we were put into a different class, but I was basically not able to learn properly as a result of falling back so much in my early life. I was still trying to find my way around what I was good at, what I was capable at, what I could do, what I could basically do well. One day, I was sitting in the middle in the class, and we, this was grade 10. We had a bunch of kids in our class who were more like the guys who everyone was scared of, like the gang who all the other kids were scared of. They basically terrorized the class. Leader of that group told me, hey, if you want to join the group, go and get something from the principal's office. I stood up, walked out of the classroom, walked into the principal office. There wasn't anyone in the principal office. Grabbed a packet of chalks and came back and gave it to him. He was shocked to see that I was able to do that. He said I was very brave, and he asked me to join the group. So I started basically hanging around with these kids, doing things, stupid things, doing naughty things, doing things kids shouldn't have done, like cutting glasses, doing other things. And I felt like, for the first time, I found something I could do, that I belonged to, that I was able to, do something with. And that momentum continued. So that, momentum led me to basically doing my O levels in a mediocre way. So I got my O level results, and I was very, very poor, but I was still able to do my get into my A level. So with that, I decided to do commerce, not because I wanted to do commerce, but because all the other friends in that group wanted to do commerce. So I decided, so we all went to the commerce classes for A levels. So that my behavior continued similar way in A levels as well. There was one class teacher in my A level class who was my class teacher at the time, who wanted to basically make sure that I followed, school rules, came to the class. She put in a strict rule with a record book to sign for every single, period that I attended. And I skipped that one as well. So my behavior continued just like that until one fateful day. It was 1989, and the country was burning daylight. There was a war in the north, as you may know, and there was an insurgency in the south. It was a horrific time. I still remember the day, 29 July 1989. And I was staying at home. There was a government imposed curfew on that day. All of a sudden, I could hear a parade of cars approaching or coming towards our house with a big noise. It was very usual for us to receive, vehicles like that, because my mother worked for the hospital, and time to time, hospital used to send cars or vans, ambulances to pick my mother up for emergencies and things like that. I thought it was one of those occasions, but they stopped in front of my house, and few of police officers walked out of that and came to my house and asked, "Where is Prabhash Kalagedara?" And I was standing there thinking, okay, they're looking for my father. And I said, "It's me." without much questioning, without much explanation, without telling what they are doing. They took me away, blindfolded me. So they blindfolded me, put me back into a car, back into the back seat of the car, and took me away, drove me off. I was basically sitting in the back seat thinking, with my eyes closed or eyes blindfolded, trying to map where they were taking me. So I could basically figure out where they're going for 45 minutes, but they drove for about 45 minutes after, and I couldn't figure out where they went. So after 45 minutes, they put me into a cell. Started questioning what my political alliances were and who I was, supporting, what my position against the gun or on government was, and so on and so forth. The usual question they basically asked you at that time. And I didn't have any alliances. I didn't have any basically, connections. I didn't have any opinion. So I just continued to say I didn't know anything. And that continued for a period of time, like about 2 weeks. And um, closer to the 2-week mark, they basically during that time they transferred from one place to another, and obviously everyone started who were in those places started to ask the same question. 2 weeks after, they transferred me to the Maradana police station, and the officer in charge at the station started asking questions from me. Similar question: what my political position was, what my position against JEP was, and so on and so forth. I started answering the same question, answering the same way, providing the same answers. After a few minutes, he paused questioning and asked me whether I know Sujiva. Sujiva was a very good friend of mine who used to be in my class when I was young. I said, yes, I know him well. He used to be in my class, and we were very good friends. He said that I'm Sujiva's dad. I recall at that point in time that Sujiva stayed in the Maradana police station. His father used to work or was working there. And, he picked up the phone and called his home and asked Sujiva to come. When he came in, he started talking to me and started asking questions from his dad. Why is he here? Why are you questioning him? He's my friend, and so on and so forth. After a couple of days, they released me. It might be Sujiva's, friendship, might be my innocence, might be, my luck, my destiny. I'm not quite sure what it was. Even today, I've been thankful to Sujiva for that, that event. And I still think that, because of him, I got out of that. When I was sitting in that cell, very small cell, fully dark, there is only a hole to go to the bathroom, and food basically provided under the table. I had a lot of time to think about what I had done at that up until that point. I reflected on what I had done on sports wise, why I wasn't able to get into any sports. I reflected on my education and why I wasn't able to do any of that well, and decided while sitting there that when I get out, I'm going to basically focus on my studies for the next few months until the A-level. Wasn't too far from my A-level at that point in time. So when I came out, I didn't have any notes because I basically cut all the classes. Didn't have any material to study because I didn't go to any of those classes. Luckily, I had a bunch of friends who were very supportive, and they invited me to work with them. So I started basically hanging around with them, listening to their discussions, listening to their conversations, and I started basically comprehending what was in the syllabus at that time. When I sat for the exam, I didn't know what I was going to get. I wasn't confident. I didn't know exactly where I stood at that point in time. However, I had one goal. I wanted to basically sit for the exam and then, see how I went. And if I couldn't make it, I was going to basically try one more time. When I got results, it was shocking. I actually was shocked by the result. I had got through with flying colors. I'd got through, so well. So that was probably the first time I realized that I would be able to do something. I would be able to learn properly. I would be able to kind of do exams well. And that was a turning point in my life, turning point in my career, turning point in, my journey, probably my parents' life as well. So my key message to you is you're going to face so many failures in your life, probably not the ones I have faced in, probably very different challenges you're going through. And one day you're going to basically overcome all of that. If you continue to focus on your journey and your objectives, you're going to overcome all of that. I failed 12 out of 13 years in my first 12, school life, but I just kept going, and that basically made me get through all of that. So that was that's my first message. ජයග්‍රහණයක් ලබන්න නම් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම පරාජය ගැන වලින් ලෙසන් මේ පරාජයෙන් අත්විඳලා ඒවෙන් මේ අරගෙන ආදර්ශ ඒවෙන් තමයි ඉදිරියට යන්න වෙන්නේ හැමෝටම. So my next message is dream big. Have a big vision. If you don't have a vision in life, if you don't have a dream in your life, you're going to basically not make any progress. You're going to move sideways, not forward, or you're going to make moves backward. So have a big dream, have a big vision in life. And that's what you should probably have right now. If you don't have it now, it's not too late, but you need to work on that. So when I stopped doing swimming, I started playing cricket because I wanted to try what are different things and find my way, what I was good at. When I started playing cricket, I realized that I wasn't good at cricket. I wasn't a good batsman. I wasn't a good bowler. I wasn't a good fielder. But, they selected me for the team as a reserve player. So I got selected to play or basically be in the team, but not to play, basically to carry water or do the scoring. I liked it. I loved that experience. I was able to hang around with a lot of friends as a result of it. So we had games, and I went for most of the games. One Saturday morning, I was sitting in this school pavilion, waiting to be picked up by the school bus or school van to go to away game. And there were two other friends. We were having a bit of a chat, and we were talking about various things around that time. We were 14 around that time. So all of a sudden, one of the friends asked a question: why do we play cricket, from both of us or two other friends? And I stopped and said, okay, let me answer that. And I said, I don't want to go for tutoring after school. My parents send me for tutoring for maths, English, science, so on and so forth. I don't want to do that, and I want to skip all of that. The best way to skip that is to play a sport. Cricket is my savior for that. I thought that was a great answer. The other friend, Ajanta, also gave a similar answer. He said he stays in the hospital. Hostel basically has a very regimented way of doing things. He has to study after school. He doesn't want to study. Because of that, he plays sports, cricket and rugby. The other friend, Kumara, looked at us and said, I want to play for Sri Lanka one day. That's why I'm playing cricket. If you don't have an ambition like that, if you don't have a dream like that, if you don't have a purpose like that, don't play cricket. We were both stunned by that answer. We were about 14 at that time, and someone at that age to say something like that was very unusual. So we didn't answer that question. We just moved on from it. Kumar, in fact, played for Sri Lanka as he visioned, as he dreamed, as he, said that day. He was in the 1996 World Cup winning team. Excuse me. Kumara in that story is Kumara Dharmasena, who's an ICC elite umpire. Today, he had a big vision. I didn't have one. Even Ajanta today says, what this story, and says, how purposeful he was at a young age. I basically moved sideways like that for another 5-6 years until I came to this place. 30 Malal Sekara Mawata, Colombo 7. That's where I found my purpose, my vision, my dream. When I finished my A-level, I knew I could go to university. I had passed well, so I could go to university. But the waiting time was 2 years. I wanted to do something else during that time. Most of the people I spoke to encouraged me to do chartered. My essay, English essay, came back to me at that time. I thought I'm going to do chartered. My parents also encouraged me. When I started doing chartered, I realized that it was going to give me a world-class qualification. It was going to give me a good education. It was going to give me a good job. It was going to give me a good life. And at that point in time, I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to do CA. I want to be a CA. And, once I become a CA, I want to basically go on to become a, global executive. CA gave me that vision. CA gave me that education. CA alone basically gave me that purpose. I'm thankful to CA for giving me that direction, give me that vision, give me that, dream, even today. So you must have a big dream. You must have a big vision. You must have a big purpose in your life. If you haven't found that yet, that's okay. It's not too late, but you must reflect on it and find your path, find your vision, find your purpose. That's my second message. My third message, you need to stay focused on your dream, focus on your vision, focused on your objectives, focused on your goals. You're going to face so many obstacles in your life, so many barriers in your life, so many misfortunes in your life, but you need to stay focused. You need to basically stay on the line, stay on the lane. I found my big distraction in money. When I was doing my CA, I basically joined EY Colombo as a trainee. The salary at that time was 850, or we used to call it Poppy. I'm sure you still call it Poppy. 850 barely covered my transport costs. Wasn't enough for my study packs, wasn't enough for my classes, wasn't enough for my exams, wasn't enough for my clothes, was barely paying my transport costs. So I had a big problem. Had needed to basically find money. My parents gave me money, but that was barely covering things that I wanted to do. I wanted to basically, most of the friends I went to school with basically started working, started doing jobs, started doing other things, and they started basically, driving their own vehicles, doing their own things, having drinks and parties and things like that. I couldn't do any of that. So I decided to do a side thing, a side business. 4 of us got together and decided that we must do a business. We put about 1,000 rupees each and started establishing that. It was going to be a shoe manufacturing business. 4,000 rupees to start off that with. When we started off, we wanted to first rent a place for that. We went and rented a place in Nugegoda area, paid the key money, and that basically, the whole investment went for that. We started looking for more money, went to a bank or few banks, went to a few friends, went to a few people that we knew, but we couldn't find more money. So even before we started, that business stopped. At that time, one of my father's friends came back from the US. He was coming back to Sri Lanka to establish a business. He was going to import this unique item, a machine that prevents rusting motor vehicles. It prevents rusty motor vehicles, was a new thing at that time in Sri Lanka. It's a machine. I used to say it, Malakada Kannati machine. So I said to uncle one day that, I should be able to sell that. He said, yeah, that's good. If you sell it, for 15,000, I'm going to give you 5,000 from each machine. I thought that was good. That was good money. I started basically, he gave me a sample. I started basically talking to people, going door to door, business to business, place to place, talking to people to basically sell that. Did that for a period of time and couldn't basically sell a single unit. Most of the people I spoke to said that, I must get a certification that guarantees that it doesn't, rust after that. So I didn't have money to basically get that certification. I went to my University of Sri Jalandhanapura, and spoke to one of the professors in the science department. And he agreed to give me the certification free of charge. But one condition, I had to leave that machine with him for 2 weeks for the testing purpose. He wanted to test it before he gave the certification. I, happily left the machine with him for 2 weeks. When I came back, he gave me a shocking news. He had lost the machine. Someone had stolen it from his lab. It has disappeared. Someone has taken it, and he said he couldn't find it. And he said he searched it everywhere and didn't find it. So that was a big shock to me. I didn't know what to do. He said if he finds it, he'll let me know. With that news, I didn't want to go and tell my, father's friend that I lost it. I wanted to give money back to him. And I started collecting money from my friends, borrowing money from my friends to basically pay him. Finally, I collected 15,000 and gave it to him and said that, professor bought it. With these two ventures, with, the money going down the, drain, of losing money as a result, and also spending about a year not doing anything else, not doing exam and everything else, I realized that I was basically chasing something I shouldn't have. I realized at that point in time, if I finished my exams earlier, I would be able to make up that. I would be able to make money and probably, achieve my dreams very faster. So, so my message to you is, you're going to face so many obstacles, so many distractions, so many barriers like that. Money was my one. I'm not sure what is your one, but whatever it is, stay focused. Keep going forward. Make sure that you achieve your dream. Make sure that you finish your CA and become a CA. There are the three messages that I wanted to share. When I reflect on my life today, I've done so many things. I've done academic things. I've done my exams and completed them. I've done my jobs and got into good jobs. I've done other things and achieved so many things. All of that have come through just one way, because of one thing. It was just because of my thinking, my belief that I will be able to do it, just my belief that I can do anything if I want to, just my belief that I'll be able to achieve whatever I want to. That's the key thing in my life. Key thing is believing in myself. So my key message to you is, out of all of that, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in, your abilities, if you believe in your dreams, you'll be able to achieve all of that. You're going to face three enemies in your life. First is your external enemy, people around you, people who you work with, people in your village, your town, your, relations, distant relations. They let you down. They pull you down. They criticize you for nothing, and you just walk past them. And then the other second enemy is intimate enemy, people closer to you, people who you love, people like your good friends, your good close relations. Their definition, your success is very limited to compared to what you want to achieve in your life. So keep walk passing them. And the worst of all the enemies is yourself, your mind, your thinking. You're thinking that you can't do because of the money you don't have. You can't achieve certain things because of the English you can't speak. You can't do certain things because of the knowledge or the lack of knowledge you have in certain areas. They are all limitations you have in your mind. They are all limiting thinkings you have in your mind. So if you basically fight your own thinking, your enemy, your head, you'll be able to achieve anything in your life. That's my final message. And this beautiful proverb summarizes all of that in a beautiful way. When there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. It was the last day in my high school. It was the last day in my school life. We were meeting for the last time. It was probably about 3 days before the A-level exam. And we decided to have a party. I'm sure you can relate to it. We brought in food, drinks, and we ate that and sang songs on that day. And we were about to leave for the last time. And we wish everyone good luck for the exam. And our class teacher came to the class and made a small speech and gave us a note. It was a postcard. On one side was a picture of the school. On the other side, a note that said, If not you, who? If not now, when? So I'm going to leave this conversation, finish this conversation with that note. If not you, who? If not now, when? Thank you very much. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhash, for taking us through that wonderful presentation. We definitely had a lot to learn from your inspiring life story, making you who you are today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quote from Embrace. There is no surprise more magical than the surprise of being valued. Embrace has so far been full of surprises. So I would like to summarize for you some important things we can learn from your inspiring story, Mr. Prabhash. That is to dream big, stay focused, believe in your abilities and yourself, and never give up. Fight with yourself no matter what, and do what it takes to reach that ultimate goal of yours. So by now, I know that most of y'all might be having many interesting questions and wanting to get them clarified. Platform is all yours. Please feel free to type in all of your questions via the chat box, or even raise your hand and unmute yourself and let us know your thoughts before we wind up for the day. Our guest speaker will be more than happy to get them clarified for you all. The platform is now open for questions. Do we have any questions from our audience? Yes, anything that you would like to get them clarified? So we have Gihana asking, sir, can you please explain how you got selected for Harvard Business School?
Gihana, it was a very, very rigorous process. I think about 4,000, 5,000 people applied for that program and only 75 got selected. So it's a very, very low chance of getting selected. So what got me through was my very diversified experience. Like, I have, I'm a chartered accountant. I've done data analytics. I've done, IT. I've done cybersecurity, various things. And that was the reason why they selected me. And also, the story, my life, so you had to write a story. And my life story also was another reason as to why, they selected me. So they thought that, I have a diversified experience in work as well as a, very good life story.
That's really nice to hear from you, sir. So we have Dushanta.
No problem.
We have Dushanta thanking you very much for sharing your life experience with us. Yes, any more questions from the audience? If anyone would wish to unmute themselves. Okay, so I take your silence as a no. So as time constraints, unfortunately, we have to now wrap up the question and answer session from here. But I hope that you all got the right answers and answers to the doubts that you had from our expert, Mr. Prabhash. So once again, a very big thank you for that insightful, lovely life story and all your experiences that you shared with us, sir. We had a lot to learn from your life. So everything that you shared with us today will definitely help us move ahead in this fast-paced modern world full of challenges yet to overcome. So I also take this time to thank the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka for facilitating us for today's session. I hope that today's program was helpful in making a value addition and positive impact in our lives. I personally enjoyed every minute of this insightful, amazing discussion today under the topic Raising Up to the Challenge. This was our 9th live question and answer session that came to an end. Please keep tuned in for more updates via our socials, the official Facebook page and the web page of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. Stay safe and take care until we meet again with another exciting live chat program. Till then, wishing you all a pleasant weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Keep safe and a very good night.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.